Jay. That's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast tonight. We're talking Justin Madubuike getting extended, Justin Simmons getting cut, Jalen Johnson of the Bears getting extended, the Bills getting rid of their entire team, amputations, a 16-foot bill being built in front of a stadium. There's so much to talk about. And of course, we're going to end it all off with the Chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football. Football is
America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass.
This is the moment in time. I'm giving 10.
Oh my god.
No!
You love this.
30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs
No!
win 30 to 20.
Yes. All right, be honest. What made you click? Was it the amputation or the giant buffalo? We won't judge.
Everything at this point.
Right? Everything seems so exciting. And then as we were even getting this episode ready, just an hour ago, the Ravens signed Justin Madubuike. Did I do that right?
Yeah, we'll give you a pass on this one.
All right. It is the only football channel, and we don't do names here. But yeah, just an hour ago, we get this news.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens making Justin the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. It's a $98 million contract extension. That's a shit ton of money. What do you think about this? Because didn't they just tag him, and the whole reason they tagged him was because they were going to work out a long-term deal? Yes, that is what happened.
Yep, that's exactly what happened, Kyle. It's just he reset the market for defensive tackles. I mean, well, not necessarily. He reset it, I guess, sort of for new up-and-comers, because Aaron Donald still has the most money, I believe, per year. He's at $31.6 million, while Justin is at $24.5 million per year. So, Aaron Donald's still up there in terms of, effectiveness, being paid, and just putting the product out there on the field for the Rams. So I like the deal. I mean, the Ravens had to do this because all throughout the season, 13 plus sacks, I believe he had this past season. He was an absolute force there in the middle of that defensive line. You got to do it, man. You got to do it to keep that defense like as good as it was last season. And he is one of the anchors there for that defense in Baltimore. Yeah.
And interesting is, it leads me to believe that things contract negotiating wise escalated really fast, maybe even faster than the expectations were from his agent in the Baltimore Ravens, because as you know, you only get, I believe, one franchise tag. Now the Ravens kept Justin off the open market by using that franchise tag. And we knew that they were trying to strike a long-term deal, but isn't this like 5 days ago?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was like, they were either really close and they were like, it's not worth it. If we lose this guy, they feel really strongly about keeping him on the team, or they maybe didn't anticipate a long-term deal was going to be signed so quickly, or they would have been probably trying to get it done before and use the tag on somebody else, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who else the Ravens would try to use the tag on because
Yeah, I
like
can't think of anyone either.
yeah, I feel like they had I mean Justin was Madubuike was the most important part, like the most important guy on this team that they needed to use the tag on. And like you said, you use it. I mean, it's strategic the way they're using it to keep them away from, free agency, to keep them away from other teams trying to poach their player away from their team. So it's used very strategically, and for the people that they know. I feel like they use it because they know they can get a deal done with these guys. There's mutual interest on both sides. I think, for example, like God, I was just about to say something else about the Bears, but we'll get to that a little bit. But the same thing happened. You talk about uh using the franchise tag on these guys, but you're not going to keep it, right? Like you're not just going to give them that franchise tag. It's not just that. Similar to the trade deadline just this past season, where I was like, Ryan Poles needs to get this deal done with fucking Montez Sweat, or it's not worth it. And you were like the very common sense voice in my head. You're like, no, man. If they're going to give up a second round pick, they're going to get it done. And that's exactly what happened. And it just seems to me that that's kind of what the GMs and front offices are doing with the franchise tag as well.
Yeah, there was a picture posted of PFF 2022. He had, oh wow, oh my god.
What's that?
So I was getting ready to bitch about the fact that it doesn't say where it ranked in the NFL, and now I see why, because the numbers speak for themselves, and these numbers are to show you how much he's improved
Yeah.
from last year to this year. So he had 32 quarterback pressures in 2022. He had
Oh wow.
77 last year. He went from 32 to
Shit.
7.
He more than doubled it.
More than doubled it. So
Man.
the Ravens probably feel like this guy is one of the best in the game, like a Chris Jones type of player.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get him locked up while he's still young, keep him at home, and make him kind of the heartbeat of the Ravens defense moving forward, we
Mm-hmm.
think that he can grow into those shoes based on how much he's been showing growth year to year. I think it's a smart move. It's always a good idea when you find yourself in an AFC championship game, or even just winning 90% of your football games, to not change the key pieces that are
Yeah.
making it operate like that. And the Ravens defense was the number one reason they were the hardest team to beat in the regular season last year. And this guy's a huge part of that. So I'm sure Raven fans are super happy about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see how long the contract is for. Did it say if it was like 5 years, 6 years?
No. It's 4 years.
Damn. So it's like
So
25 mil a year.
yeah, and it was actually the reason I thought it was record breaking, or at least I heard it was record breaking, is that for guarantees and total money out of the 98, it's $75.5 million that is guaranteed. That is the record for guaranteed money for a defensive tackle. So Aaron Donald was not even guaranteed that much of whatever his deal was. That's why I was like, in my head, I was like, wait, it's not record breaking because Aaron Donald is still above that, but it's only because of guaranteed money.
Yeah, and they ranked first in points allowed per game, 16.5 last year. Yeah, huge news. We're going to talk about another Justin. And
Oof, RIP. RIP Kyle's feelings.
you know, this one hurt. This one hurt.
Yeah.
This one hurts more. Like I'm not going to cry over it, but look,
He's crying.
I almost did. And but I think it's a very reasonable reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why I would call it reasonable.
Yes.
So you get one of these players every decade if you're lucky. All right. We had Von Miller was the last one we lost. Usually when you lose one of those, you got to wait around 10 years to feel that sting again. But in our case, Von Miller and Justin Simmons didn't exit at the same time. They exited 2 years apart.
Mhm.
But there was the same type of feelings. And Justin Simmons, he was drafted in 2016, third round selection out of Boston College. And he was immediately a great pick. In 2016,
Mhm.
man, I remember I wasn't even in the military yet. I remember going to the bars outside of the bar I worked at. It was like a strip of bars, and I would get done with my brunch shift, and it was perfect timing. And I would go to a Hurricane Wings. I don't know if you've ever seen
Mhm.
a Hurricane Wings,
Mhm.
and the bartender there and I may or may not have engaged in illegal activities every Friday night, but he hooked me up the whole
Public
entire
BJ's.
he hooked me up the entire time, and he'd put whatever game I wanted because there's only like 3 TVs. And I
Mhm.
remember watching a Saints game, and the Saints were kicking a field goal to win the game, and jumps over the entire line is Justin Simmons. And then he jumps again and
Yeah.
blocks it. A Bronco picks up and returns it. Broncos win the game. And that was
Yeah.
like the birth of Justin Simmons. It was really the birth of a superstar because he went on to
Mhm.
perform in a similar way, like putting his fingerprints on the Broncos defense every single game.
Yep.
Um, and then he also came into our franchise at a unique time where we we were always a winning franchise. Like we would have a down year, but this was a franchise that when Justin Simmons was drafted, we had more Super Bowl appearances than we had losing seasons.
Mhm.
Talk about a flex. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
very, very hard flex. So but he's also stayed in Denver long enough to see that stat no longer true, and
Mhm.
also the longest playoff drought in Denver Broncos history. So he adopted new coaches, new quarterbacks, whether it's Drew Lock, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco. Like you go down the list of all the quarterbacks that he's had to step up at that podium and say that he believes in and to be the best teammate he could be, whether it's
Yeah.
Vic Fangio or Vance Joseph or Gary Kubiak, um, or Jack Del Rio stepping in. Like I mean, all these different coaches, and Justin Simmons has always been just a very consistent, high character. He did more for the Boys and Girls Club than any person in Denver. When there were black people getting shot by police, he was the one that was going downtown to the rallies. And I went to them because Justin Simmons was there, and I was living in Denver when this happened.
Mhm.
And he would go there, and he felt like he could speak because his dad is black, but his mom is white. So he felt like he had a very unifying voice in times where that was needed.
Mhm.
He's just everything that he's the kind of guy you'd want to date your daughter if you had
Mhm.
Pitt, which is like the ultimate compliment. And the only thing that sucks is like Justin Simmons always said that we're going to turn this thing around. We're going to turn this thing around. And he really meant it. And that's why I'm so glad that we at least beat the Chiefs. I mean, because
Yeah.
he would have never even beaten Kansas
Mhm.
City.
Mhm.
But it just feels like when Denver finally does go get back to the postseason, it's only right that Justin Simmons, a person that has just been enduring, but never is going to receive any of the fruit, just
Mhm.
seems like unjust and not right. Um, but this is part of the contract, and I made a short, and it's Justin Simmons and Russell Wilson, and it's a scene in Step Brothers where Will Ferrell jumps on the bunk bed and it crushes him. And
Yeah.
it's like Justin Simmons and Russell Wilson hanging out, and then Russ jumps on the bed and Justin Simmons gets smushed,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
bed represents the contract.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's just what's going on right now. And
That's a good one.
um it was like nobody's safe. If Justin Simmons isn't safe, that means
Mhm.
that right now they're bringing in every single Denver Bronco that's under contract, and they're saying
Mhm.
restructure or don't, but let us know by the end of today. And that's
Yeah.
why we found out today Tim Patrick will restructure, because
Mhm.
Denver is they're like, okay, $85 million in dead cap. Well, we have to fire $85 million worth of people. So
Mhm.
obviously, if you put in a scale $85 million, and it's still the better option to cut that player,
Mhm.
then there must be a lot that we don't know about just how far off Russell Wilson was from what Sean Payton, I guess, would have needed to suffice as a legitimate quarterback in his system. And we now, although we still don't understand that, we see through the releasing of Justin Simmons and these type of players that there's definitely more to this that meets the eye, because we are sacrificing a lot. And the ironic part is that throughout all of the 2016s, we were 1 year removed from a Super Bowl. So the whole thing was, we're a quarterback away. We never used the word rebuild. And then we get Russell Wilson, and then that turmoil happens, and then we're still not talking about a rebuild. We're talking about Sean Payton being the guy to come in and fix it. Sean Payton comes in, doesn't necessarily fix it, but now look, now we are in a rebuild. And this is just, it's almost all happening kind of backwards from how we would have thought this would go down. But make no mistake about it, the Broncos, the state of the union, if you will, of the Denver Broncos is that we are in a rebuild, and it doesn't matter if people call it kind of like recession. Like, you can define it however you want.
You can feel it.
You can feel it. You can feel when it's happening, and when you start kicking these guys out, it's happening. And I hope, I'm trying not to be too optimistic, but I could see a very similar season to last year happening again.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there with, we're going to take on $85 million with a dead cap. Well, we got to restructure, or the door's right there. So it sucks because, like you said, Justin Simmons was a guy who came into the Broncos organization the year after the Super Bowl. And unfortunately for him, he was never able to play in any postseason games with the Broncos. And yet from 2016 until last season, his 30 interceptions in that span were the most by any player in the league. So this guy, like you said, put his heart and soul into everything. Like, he was trying to make an impact for the Denver Broncos. Unfortunately, it just never seemed to at least the team never seemed to get a little bit better with him being there. Obviously, he improved it, like you said. I mean, not only the team, but the city of Denver, with what he would do for social issues and stuff. So, hats off to him. And I'm sure his time in Denver is going to be special. I mean, he is 30 years old. Unfortunately, that's not a great age to be at for a safety.
Well, safeties actually age at the best position on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, safeties can play into, like, Justin Simmons has at least 3 to 4 more elite years in the tank. I mean, he was first team All-Pro last year.
You wouldn't say cornerbacks? You'd say safeties?
Safeties over corners, definitely.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, they're more ball hawks,
is a lot more twitchy. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and you can also kind of manage, like, the type of, like, as a receiver, you take whatever blow the safety gives you. The safety's the one that gets to plan it and posture their body how they want to. Sometimes you just get fucking collisions. But it's like safeties, you can kind of take care of your body better. And that's why you see less injuries to safeties than you do a lot of other positions.
That's a good point. I didn't really even think about that, but for cornerbacks too, I would think like, wow, there was a lot of, past 30-year-old cornerbacks that were still killing it in the league, right? So I could just in my mind,
Ty Law.
Yeah. What was it? Reeves, right? What was his name?
Darrell Reeves.
Reeves. Island. Yeah. Reeves Island. Or Reeves. Yeah. So Kyle, with Justin Simmons being cut, I mean, you said it yourself. He made first team All-Pro last year, correct? So what are you guys doing now? Do you have someone kind of waiting there on the bench? Is there a rookie? Do you think the Broncos should address this need in the draft? What's their strategy going forward?
So it's going to be Caden Stearns. He's going to be, so we have 2 different players from the safety position that could potentially come up. The reason that I think it's going to be Caden Stearns, and I think I had it written right here. I was looking at the cap numbers yesterday. Free agent to retain. Here we go. So just give me 1 second. Okay, here it is.
One Mississippi.
All right. I wasn't able to find it that quick. No, let me just try to think. So Caden Stearns was one of the guys we drafted. We have Darian Turner Yeller.
Mhm.
And then we have one more guy that's like lost on me, but it's PJ Locke.
Oh, the guy you hate.
No. The guy I hate was Damari Mathis. And
Oh, I
yeah,
could have sworn Locke
no,
had done
PJ Locke's,
something.
I like him. He's a
Okay.
hard hitting, like
Okay.
thick, just fucking
Thick
crushed.
boy.
Like, yeah. Bigger even than Kareem Jackson, even though Kareem Jackson can hit hard.
Okay.
But I like Caden Stearns, and I like PJ Locke. Like with all the suspensions, Kareem
Mhm.
Jackson with all of his hits last year, I think PJ Locke got 8 games of
Mhm.
playing time, and he fit, and he got an interception, and he looked the part. So I think what it is to go back to that scale. It's like $15 million, Justin Simmons, or is it like Justin Simmons is a little bit better, but this is way cheaper right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in when you're in the kind of predicament Denver's in financially, you don't really have the luxury of just like, hey, let's keep this guy for what he brings to the locker room. Like you don't think about it like that, but that's a luxury. Like the
Mhm.
Miami Heat keeping Udonis Haslam like on their team for like 18
20
seasons,
years.
20 years or 20, I think it
Yeah.
21, 22 years.
Something like that.
It's because he became a coach. You know, it's
Mhm.
a luxury to have the financial freedom to do things like that. But right now, it's like we we're starting over,
Mhm.
and when you start over, all of the most expensive people are the first ones to have to leave.
Yeah.
Because it's like we can't afford it, anything right now.
Anything.
Um, and then Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are next. You know, it's the reality of it.
Mm.
Um, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Justin Simmons, Russell Wilson. I mean, it's like
Can you
Patrick Surtain is the new leader of this team.
Yeah, that's true. Because I was gonna say, can you I know Jerry Jeudy for sure, because he just hasn't produced. He just really has not produced. They just signed or extended or restructured, sorry, Tim Patrick Steele, someone who Broncos fans, I feel like have been waiting to kind of like have his breakout in a sense. I know you've been excited about him for a few years now.
Yeah.
So it sucks that his injuries kind of have really delayed all of his production that he could be having. But Cortland Sutton, that one is you really think Cortland Sutton can be the next guy? Because at that point, you look at like what young guys you have waiting, Mark, or how does that go? Or Tim Patrick, of course. But it is interesting. You do think Cortland Sutton though is the next one before the season starts to be gone?
Yeah, well, you got to also look at which positions are replaceable and which ones aren't. So, like for wide receiver, you can be like, okay, we're gonna. How much money is Cortland Sutton going to cost us? Okay, 20 million.
Yeah.
All right. So what we can do is we can get rid of him, and then with third round pick, we're going to have to draft a big bodied replacement that we think is comparable.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
and that's what we drafted Cortland Sutton during the year where we traded Demaryius Thomas.
Mhm.
Denver's been pretty good about. I mean, it was like Brandon Marshall to Demaryius Thomas to Cortland Sutton, and like who's going to fill that next is whoever they draft. I'm trying to
What
see.
what round did Cortland Sutton get drafted in? Do you remember at all?
I think he was third round. I think he was a second or third round selection out of
Oh
SMU.
wow. Wow. That's not
Yeah,
bad because we have talked a lot about how players coming out of college are just so ready, and you start to see that more and more and more where you look at second round picks and
second.
how so he was a second rounder. Okay, and you see how second round picks are very valuable in the league nowadays. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in 5-10 years that the third and the fourth round picks become just as valuable as a second, with the way that the talent is in college coming into the NFL. So I wouldn't be surprised if a third and fourth round pick are as valuable as a second in the
Yeah, I
coming
mean,
years.
just look at the first round picks that were picked after Jerry Jeudy. Justin Jefferson,
Mm-hmm.
CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, these are home runs.
Yeah.
These are absolutely just like stars immediately. Like
It's
Justin
hard.
Jefferson came into the league and was like
A
one
star.
of the best wide receivers, potentially the best receiver in the NFL right away.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more difficult to miss on a first rounder. There's still plenty of misses. Mitch
Jerry
Trubisky,
Judy.
Mitch Trubisky. But it's getting harder and harder to miss on first round picks. So yeah, man, Cortland Sutton, former second rounder, as good as he is, will it be a straight up cut? Because how many more years does he have?
So 2 years ago he signed. Him and Tim Patrick both received a deal during our bye week. I remember, and I think
Mm,
they were both 4-year extensions for like 100 or around like $80 million.
oh, okay.
So here's Tim Patrick. Let me 13 million. Um,
Damn.
so dead
Yeah.
money cap savings. If they cut him before June 1st, they save 7.6 million. Zach Allen
Mm-hmm.
is another expensive player. Like we would save $26 million if we cut him,
Yeah.
and we just got him last year. So I don't know if like the people we just picked up are off limits or if
I mean,
it's
Randy
completely.
Randy Gregory, right? I don't think with Sean there anybody's off limits, like you said. I mean,
Yeah.
if it saves money and it gives you, like, how would you feel about that though? Because you were saying earlier that this coming season may be similar to what last year was in terms of losing games, not necessarily being competitive, although there was a stretch there. Like we saw that there was a stretch of competitiveness. Do you think it's more like last year, or would it be similar to the year prior, which was Russ's first year in on the Broncos?
I mean, it really does depend on who we draft or trade for.
Mm-hmm.
If Kirk Cousins comes on, the expectations are going to be playoffs. If Justin Fields comes on, the expectations will probably be similar to Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if we draft like JJ McCarthy, I think there will be no expectations.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. It's hard to know until the biggest positions filled.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why it's just kind of like, okay, let's I guess set our expectations at an appropriate level because
What?
we want to believe that we're going to be in the playoffs, but we don't have a
Yeah.
quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Which of those three options, though, would you want? Like right now, I say to you, you have the decision to make between paying Kirk Cousins probably a shit ton of money, paying Justin Fields
don't do
probably
this to me.
half of that money, or drafting a young quarterback at 12, possibly moving up, or JJ McCarthy. Let's say JJ McCarthy. Let's just say that.
Um
Nick's already saying Fields.
yeah, that's where I'm leaning to. Yeah, I would go with Justin Fields because Justin Fields is he's kind of two things. He is a young quarterback, but see, I think I would draft. Now,
Yeah.
like who would I want? Justin Fields. I really
Mm,
want to see what's there. But here's the thing: if Justin Fields plays really good, he is going to be up for a contract the next year, and we don't
yep.
have that kind of money. So it's like,
Yep.
why set ourselves up for a disappointment? Ultimately, it's going to lead to Justin Fields going elsewhere to get money, or him being unhappy in Denver.
Well, I was going to say he's got the 5th-year option. So after the 2024 season, you guys could pick up the option, right? Off after that, and it'll be like 21, 22 million at that point.
If
And
we could work
then
it out, that would be the only way.
because then at that point, like at least if you pick up the option and you're like, you know what, we'll take the hit here and we'll cut if we have to, right? We'll cut more people for whatever dead cap we're taking for Russ. And if he can succeed without Cortland Sutton and possibly, succeed with Tim Patrick, who just restructured his shit, See, that's the thing. I don't know, man, because Justin Fields struggled with without DJ Moore the season prior. He
Yeah.
needs that number one, but also this was his third year and his first time with a actual wide receiver one. So it is interesting though.
Well, forget about all that for a second. You're going for Justin Fields to go from Matt Eberflus to Sean Payton. Like, naturally, I would expect there to be some very obvious differences in coaching. So
Okay, I get the coaching, yes, but we saw what happened with Russ a little bit though too, right?
Sean took him from 31st to 15th. That's really good.
Oh, okay, but he's gone.
Yeah, because 15th isn't good enough for Sean. Sean's like, no, I'm good enough where you should be number one most years, not 15. Like, we're not
Mhm.
even in the ballpark. If you're in the top five, like, because Sean knows. I mean, imagine you had a team for 13 years, and 11 of those seasons, you were the number one offense in the NFL. Like, 11
Yeah.
out of 13, you're going to start to believe that it's you a little bit too. It's not
Mhm.
just Drew Brees. It's like, I'm designing this dope shit too. So,
Lily wants Jerry Judy.
yeah, I think Justin Fields, well, Sean could tap into Justin Fields' talents in a way Eberflus, his resume doesn't stand up to Sean's in that particular area. It just doesn't.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, you might lose out on the wide receiver thing, but you could gain something in a different area. And I think really Justin Fields is at an age right now where like he wants to be molded. Like I
Mhm.
think he would embrace that Sean Payton, that
24.
like that hard coaching.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
24.
he's 24,
Yeah.
and he's also at a point in the league where he understands he's about 1 year away from performing, from just not being around. And
And
that's
on
scary.
on top of that, right? He's got his next year, right? This upcoming season will be his fourth year in the league. Let's say he plays well. You guys pick up the option for the next year. By the final year of his option year, all of the dead cap money for Russ is out. You guys are done with that. You guys are done with the dead cap money. Now you do have some space to play around with. Has Fields been good enough? And if he has been, do we extend them? Because now we have a little bit more freedom with the cap. Obviously, the Broncos have been fucked with the draft for the last 2 years, and then they're going to be screwed even more with the cap money. But you take on a Justin Fields, at least, like you said, you can have Sean Payton, that offensive strategy, kind of molding him to be what he is. I feel like Sean would also play more to his strengths, his mobility, his throwing and play action, all that stuff. And then once all of that Russell Wilson BS is gone, now you can focus on, okay, what do we do? Is there a quarterback in the draft we like? Where are we position wise? And how well is Justin Fields performed? Because if you give it a Kirk Cousins, yeah, like you said, your immediate expectation, I think, for Denver is playoffs. Whereas with Justin Fields, you're just trying to improve your team and stay, I guess, as affordable as possible with the players you can. And
Afford.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then maybe possibly be either pay Justin Fields or let him walk after if you pick up the 5th-year option and try to look towards the draft to see like, hey, kind of what you said a couple weeks ago. You get dinner ready and then you invite company, right?
Right. And that's what they could do with Fields. So I would
Mm-hmm.
I would be for that. But then the reason I was like hesitant was because if you draft a quarterback, like you have it's a whole new contract. Like it's a whole new 4 years. It's a clean slate. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow when he was drafted.
Yeah.
But the thing is too, a lot of times, like when you're Joe Burrow in your second year, you go to the Super Bowl and then you go to the AFC Championship. It's like, in your off season, like, yeah, they're gonna want to pay me. That's why he never seemed worried about it.
Yeah.
But then you see guys like Tua and Justin Fields, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, so you guys know that we know that you're not yet that,
You guys know that we
but
know that you know that I know.
do you know that you're not like that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
do you want to be paid like that? Because that's the real question. And if they can be honest with themselves, I'm sure they would sign a 2-year, like very similar to Daniel Jones. We're not going to give you a 10-year, $500 million contract, but we'll give you, top money for 2 years. And you got to prove in those 2 years that you're worth a bigger contract.
Mhm.
That's kind of, I could see maybe Justin Fields being willing to do something like that, depending on how next year goes.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Justin Simmons is already in the top 10 free agents, above Odell Beckham Jr. as the top available. And so the Von Miller signed with the Bills. I don't know if you saw
Mm.
that.
Did he really? Did he
Yeah.
like re-sign or what?
Yeah. So I thought maybe they could. I don't know. So it says
Wait,
number 1,
Von
Kirk
Miller?
Cousins. Number 2, Ryan Tannehill. Number 3, Leonard Williams. Number 4, Von Miller. And then it says
Oh,
2024.
renegotiates.
Oh, is that what he did?
Yeah, to save the Bills cap space because the Bills, which we'll get into a little bit later, if they've had a worse time than the Broncos, I think.
Possibly. But then Chris Jones, another huge domino, just waiting
Mhm.
to fall. And it's going to be interesting. Like, what if no team just wants to pay $100 million for him? Like, then what happens?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it almost seems like sometimes when these guys go to get paid, like the NFL as a whole kind of like joins together. Like, okay, no one's going to pay Lamar. Okay, we won't. You won't. No one's going to do it. Okay, no one's going to do it. And then
Yeah.
and then they get stuck, and then they disappear like Dalvin Cook almost. And you're like, "Wait, Dalvin Cook's no one wants him? What the fuck is going on? This
And
guy
then he
was
shows
awesome."
why. And then
Yeah,
he
and then he
shows
comes
why.
back and he looks 10 years older. It's like, "What happened?"
This is why nobody's paying running backs, bro. This is why.
But it was also a New York Jet, so, like, the Jets had a way of
Facts.
making everyone disappear last year. It's a
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett special. It's what he specializes in.
Lily's
Can't
like,
believe
shut up, Kyle.
I can't believe the Jets after last season are like, "Let's run it back with Nat." It's like, did you just call Nathaniel Hackett Nat? It's like, you have to win to get a nickname.
He
And
had a fucking goatee and everything.
you don't want to go with Natty Ice? With that ugly ass goatee. I love the guy to death, but
Oh,
God,
man.
that goatee is hideous. But also, you have
True.
to at least score a touchdown in more than 50% of your games.
I
Right?
don't know. I don't
Isn't
know
that like
how.
uh,
I to this day, like good on the Broncos ownership to be like, oh my god, this is so bad. Yeah, we have to fire him.
Dude, we
But
were
yeah,
watching it, but no one listens to the fans because people think the fans are always crazy because
yeah,
they always say like extreme shit, but once in a while they're telling the truth and no one believes them. Like
that's
Nathaniel
true.
Hackett was so bad that we were all just like, "Are you watching this? Are we just all gonna not act like a 68-yard field goal is a bad idea when it's 4th and 3 with 2 minutes?"
Oh god, I'm so sorry, dude. You guys have struggled
It's
quite
right.
a bit.
You've been mad at your guy all last season.
Yeah,
What the
that's
fuck is Eberflus doing?
yeah, that was we've been on the struggle bus as well. So it's such a conundrum kind of really right at this point for the Broncos because you really are, you are in kind of a state of we're trying to cut money and also what the fuck do we do at quarterback? You know, what the fuck do we do? Do we try to move up already knowing that we have a really really bad cap situation and do we move up for because really even JJ McCarthy like you'd probably have to move up quite a bit in the draft because even JJ McCarthy after the combine is looking like everybody's saying a top 5 draft pick goes similar to Richardson last draft where everybody like Anthony Richardson has a cannon arm and then the Colts came in and took him within the
Yeah.
first few picks and we're like, whoa, where did this guy come from? Right. So JJ McCarthy might be there in those top 5s. And and then at that point you're like, okay, well, do we go with Penix? Do we go with Bo Nix? Do we try not going for a quarterback? Do we go for, like what you said, the best cornerback in the draft? And you stack up your defense that way, because now
Yeah.
you get rid of Justin Simmons. Now that secondary does become a lot
Oh my
weaker.
God. Remember that Dolphins game? The 70-point game?
Oh yeah.
Guess who wasn't playing in that game?
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, I guess that would be the opposite of Nathaniel Hackett being in the game, is the other team scoring 100 points. No, but
Simmons.
Justin Simmons. No, because I really look at it like, okay, either one, Easton Stick,
Mhm.
Blaine Gabbert, and I don't think you guys are re-signing Nathan Peterman. I love these options. If we could bring in a guy like Easton Stick, and with his expertise and his knowledge, maybe him and Brandon Allen and Blaine Gabbert could work out like a
The best parts of all of them.
yeah, we could figure out like, okay, do we go with him? Do
We're
we
gonna
go with
mold JJ McCarthy.
Did they just say they're going with Easton Stick? That doesn't even sound like a real name. Like, this guy started like 10 games last season.
Oh, it sucked at every one of them.
Yeah, no, this is my nightmare if you couldn't tell. I don't want Easton Stick, Nathan Peterman, Mason Rudolph, Bright Rippon,
Oh
Jeff
god.
Driscoll, AJ McCarron, Trevor Siemian. If you even sound like one of these guys, we are not interested.
Does JJ McCarthy sound like one of those guys?
No, because he's new and exciting. But he could just be one of them.
Does he sound like Zach Wilson or Trey Lance, like Nick is saying?
No, because the difference was Trey Lance didn't play a ton in college,
True.
and we literally just didn't know much because he went to San Diego State. Like, JJ McCarthy plays in like a professional type of offense in Michigan. It's very like pro style. So he is like a plug and play. He's smart enough to run an offense. The question is, like, would he perform well? So that's what makes him such an interesting candidate, is like his mind. He's smart enough to play, and he has the arm to make really difficult throws, but is everything else going to line up?
Yeah.
Like, he's got a powerful arm.
So, and I was gonna ask you, but really it kind of becomes a after the draft towards the season thing. Any landing spots for Justin Simmons, or like you said, is it gonna be a waiting game? Is he gonna be kind of like, waiting for a phone call from his agent, probably like mid-July, August?
I think with Simmons, he deserves to be in a team like right now, but I just don't think with his position, age, and money, how much money he costs, I don't think that's the reality. Like, he's definitely too good to not play somewhere. He'll be playing somewhere, and man, he's gonna be. I'm scared of where he ends up, to be honest. Like, if he ends up in Baltimore playing alongside Kyle Hamilton, like, oh my god,
oh, that's scary.
yeah, it's terrifying, right?
That's scary.
So hopefully he goes to like the Giants or something. But I really want him to win as well. So the Cowboys would be a good fit for him.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Deron Bland there. Be the safety for that guy. Like, you're looking at a pretty good secondary right there too. So,
but they're gonna wait until the draft, and then if they don't get a guy in the draft, like let's say they have 4 guys circled, and they're like, all right, these are our 4 guys. If we can't get one of these 4, we like Justin Simmons better than our 5th option for the draft. And that's why you have to wait until after the draft. And then all of a sudden, these guys are just flying. Like, these guys are gone. I remember our first year doing the channel. It was like the day after the draft, all the free agents just like cockroaches when you turn the lights on. They all just like found their home.
It was like that Sunday and Monday was like, this guy's going over here, that guy's going over there.
Yeah.
You get this day, you get this week right here where it's like cut, extended. And then after the draft, like you said, Kyle, it's like signed him. So it's always exciting.
The last thing I'll say is I do want Zach Wilson to come to Denver. Because you have to understand.
Oh no.
I started a business
I know where this is going.
And the only way this business works, I have 50 of these almost. Number 3. All right. Zach Wilson wears number 3. Zach Wilson spells his name like this. If Zach Wilson comes to the Broncos and doesn't change his number or his name, which you can't say no one does that, Ocho Cinco.
That's true. That's
If he
true.
doesn't change any of those things, these jerseys have a longer shelf life, which
They're
is
gonna
like,
be selling
how
like
often,
hotcakes.
how often could that happen? Where a new quarterback comes in and you don't even have to change your jersey? Probably never. It's probably never happened ever.
Ever.
So that would be pretty cool.
But how cool, like honestly, like you said, how cool would that be for if he came and signed on to Denver for like a really like minimum type of deal, right? And
No, that'd be hilarious.
Broncos fans do not have to sell their Wilson jerseys because he's number 3 and his last name is Wilson.
Dude, we would be wanting him to work strictly for the finances of the business side of it. I would be with like what do you call like sports fanatics and stuff. I would be like with those guys, like, yeah, man, and we got to protect our investments. So like, get out of here, loser. Like,
But
you bought 20 jerseys. You're not us.
You know what they would still do? They would still put a line through Russell Wilson and put in another Wilson on the jersey.
No, stitch another Wilson.
Yeah, stitch another, or just like with duct tape, put Wilson because they're like different Wilson. We don't want the same juju.
That's true. Yeah. Oh my God. And then a line through 3 and then another 3.
But like a different font 3.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. This is good. I like it. Well, Kyle, unfortunately, his team is what's up?
Zach Wilson's gonna come to the Broncos like, don't worry, you guys. I grew a lot last year playing for Nathaniel Hackett. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
What? Don't ever say that name in here again. Oh my God. So Kyle's team, the Broncos, are having a tough time right now. On the opposite side of your screen, the Bears actually made a very, very good decision here just recently. Jalen Johnson, our all-star, first-team All-Pro last year cornerback, has been extended 4 years, $76 million. Let's see. I just want to make sure I get his let's see, $54 million was guaranteed, $28 million the first year and $60 million over the first 3 years total for Jalen Johnson. And really,
$43 million guaranteed too.
54 million.
Is it 54?
Yeah, at least that's what CBS is saying. 54 million guaranteed.
Over the cap.
Him.
Over the cap has it at like 43 million, but still,
really?
Bears are one of the only teams that got it. Yeah, 43.8 million guaranteed.
Oh, okay. So over the cap has.
Or it says guarantees. I guess that's different than guaranteed.
Oh, I wonder if that is like maybe like some bonuses, like if he does certain things,
that's
like
what I'm thinking,
bonuses or something. So,
and then what's APY? Current APY?
Annual. I don't know what APY is.
That's at 19 million.
Year.
Do you have
Annual
anything
per year?
19 million?
Oh, average per year.
Oh,
average per year. Yeah.
Okay, that's good, right? That's a good deal, right?
It honestly, it's not bad because again, first All-Pro honors last season. He has been one of the guys, even the season prior to that, his, I believe, second season or so in the league. I was like, this guy's good. This guy's good. And he really wasn't well known his second or third year until he made the All-Pros last year. So he's been one of those low-key guys, cornerback wise, for the Bears. I think he was a 50th pick, so second round. So he has been one of those guys that, again, you show the value in your second rounders. Jalen Johnson has been one of the best shutdown corners in the league for the last 2 years or so, and he's got to get paid like one. He went through some kind of bumps in the road there with the Bears right near the trade deadline. He had requested a trade probably 2-ish days or so before the trade deadline happened. I was reading that like, oh no, we lost him, because the Bears and Ryan Poles said, we're giving you permission to seek out a trade. Luckily, that never happened. And then what happened the latter half of the season was he got I believe his 4 interceptions, 10 pass breakups, had one of the lowest percentages when quarterbacks threw to the wide receiver he was covering. So he had a very dominant showing in this past season during his contract year, which led to Ryan Poles and the Bears franchise tagging him, similar to Justin Madubuike, where you tag him, make sure that nobody else can come in and say anything, try to poach him away from the team, and then you just work out an extension, which again, one of the better moves because we just signed Montez Sweat. We traded for him and then we signed him to an extension. We still have oh my God, what's his name? I'm looking. Tremaine Edmonds. We signed him to a 4-year, $72 million deal. As the season went along, this defense really started to put it all together. They put on very, very dominant showings against some teams.
What about Nathan Peterman? Are you guys going to re-sign him?
God, I hope so. He is the cornerstone of this team, Nathan Peterman. When there's a quarterback injured, you call up Mr. Peterman. No, but this defense was playing extremely well in that the last third of the season where it all started to come together. So it only makes sense, similar to what the Ravens did. You bring back one of those core pieces in Jalen Johnson, you shut down that side of the field, and you've already got a couple other guys, Kyler Gordon, Terrell Smith, Tyreek Stevenson on the other side, who are slowly getting up there in terms of being a very good cornerback or even a nickelback, right? So your secondary, we just got rid of Eddie Jackson, which, I mean, it's not a huge loss, whatever, but you still want to be able to make that secondary a feared one, moving forward for next year.
What about the third option that you didn't name earlier?
Oh no, the third option.
The Bears could be doing this too. Remember, the Broncos and Bears are in a very similar situation.
They have been, yeah.
We don't know who's going to be the quarterback. I think we have a good idea, but we don't know, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if the long-term strategy is not to get a guy in free agency or the draft? But what if, in fact, the idea was that the Bears are going to go with Justin Fields for one more year? They're going to draft Marvin Harrison with their pick. And then next year, they're going with Dak Prescott, who will be a free agent next year, along with Jared Goff.
No way.
Dak Prescott coming to Chicago. Why not?
What I will say, this is what I will say. The Bears have not had consistent number one offense type of quarterback play since Jay Cutler. When Jay Cutler was the Bears quarterback, the offense was explosive. It was ridiculous the amount of after the year that they were the number one offense with Jay Cutler, with Brandon Marshall, with I'm forgetting the other receiver's name. He went to Philadelphia, won a Super Bowl.
Deshaun Jackson?
No. He was a taller guy. Him and Brandon Marshall were like two really tall guys. It was like, my God, two number ones.
Wait, let's get this. What letter did it start? Alshon Jeffrey.
So we had those two guys. We had Jay Cutler. We had Greg Olsen at tight end. We had Matt Forte as our running back. Like, we were stacked, and we had the number one offense, and we were up there in offense for a couple of years there. But, obviously Lovie Smith.
Kyle Orton.
Sure. But the Bears have not had consistent play until they got Jay Cutler. So what does that really mean? Like, maybe the Bears really aren't that good at developing quarterbacks. But
no, he's just not getting it.
No, but it's
through.
It's not. But Sid Luckman and Jim McMahon were developed with the Bears, and they won Super Bowls. So I will say, and championships. So I will say, yeah, it's just with Jay Cutler, dude. It was like really. I mean, we can't pick quarterbacks in the draft anyway. We got Mitch.
Well, when you get 3 generations away from anything, it might as well have never happened because nobody's
never happened.
Yeah, because nobody's teaching anything to anyone else. Everyone's just blindly trying to figure it out.
But we're only about 12, 13 years removed from that number one offense with Jay Cutler. So you may have a point.
Yeah, but
You may
Jay
have a
Cutler
point.
probably doesn't even remember that offense being number one. Like,
The
if you
NFL
ask Jay
does.
Cutler about
The
it, he'd be
NFL
like,
does.
"Yeah, we were pretty fucking good, weren't we?"
Yeah,
Like
we
when
were
he
pretty fucking good.
when he gets drunk, he's sitting around the campfire and he's like,
Dude,
"Fuck, dude, I was awesome."
that was exciting Bears football. And God, dude,
Jay
my
Cutler was
God.
a gunslinger, man.
He was a gunslinger, and we had weapons. We had weapons. Again, it just like you're saying that with Dak Prescott, with Jared Goff, that might have to be the recipe for success for the Bears. We might have to pick up a guy like that,
Dude, do
with
it.
weapons, a Marvin
Cheat.
Harrison, a DJ Moore, a Cole Kmet,
Yes, you have
possible
to cheat.
Saquon Barkley. You may have to do
Dude,
that for the Bears, but
we got
with
Manning.
the number
We
one,
didn't develop him.
that's true. That's true, right? And Elway took what, 14 years to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, he took
It-
a really long time.
It took a really long time.
And he wasn't even drafted by the Broncos. We stole him too.
See, it's just, if Brett Favre stolen, traded from the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the only one, but I think that's because the Chiefs traded up from the Bills to get him.
And sometimes teams just get lucky. Like, what we have to leave a little room for, like, okay, we didn't know he was going to be this good. We thought
Tom
he was
Brady,
good. Yeah, like
Aaron Rodgers.
Sometimes you just get lucky. And
Yeah,
then, and
100%.
it can benefit your franchise for a long time. Like, what if they got lucky with Brett Favre? And Brett Favre taught Aaron Rodgers what he knows, and then Aaron Rodgers taught Jordan Love what he knows. It all stems from this luck, not like everyone's a guru. It's just, no, they just had this one guy that kind of, that's why, like, especially when I had a kid, a boy, especially, I was thinking about legacy and like how, like, what you do in such a short period of time affects the generations below you. And it's really mind-blowing when you really think about, people can grow up in a very, very just terrible way, but just with their life being totally different, they can change their kids' entire, like, trajectory.
Exactly.
So you just need one. You just need one. I mean, and if that could teach a rookie that you draft,
that's
you wouldn't be
when it
against
starts to become. Yeah, absolutely. And Sean Payton won a Super Bowl with the Saints with Drew Brees, who was acquired from the Chargers. Nick is saying Justin Fields, 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Broncos, who was acquired from the Bears. Stolen. So look, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Let's be honest. Maybe, like, the Bears historically have just been terrible at bringing in their own quarterback from the draft and developing them into champions. It's just, it's something we've struggled with. And the only time where we have looked amazing at the quarterback position is when we took the Jay Cutler quarterback from the Denver Broncos. That's the only time we're good at.
And Josh McDaniels just gave him to you.
And Josh McDaniels just gave him to us. We can draft running backs. We can draft running backs. We can draft wide receivers. Well, yeah, sort of. Alshon Jeffrey was probably one of the better ones. We can draft defense all day long. We cannot draft and develop a quarterback. The Bears just cannot. There's something in that building. There's something in that stadium that just prevents any quarterback who comes in from the draft to be great. There's something there. And I don't know.
Even Dak Prescott?
Here we go. I don't know. Probably, dude. Probably. Here's the thing. If that happened, like, let's say we just do what you're saying. We're going to move back. We're going to get another haul of picks. And we don't draft Caleb Williams. We draft Marvin Harrison, for example. The shitty thing is, Caleb Williams is probably going to go on to have a great career. Patrick Mahomes on the Bears, had the Bears picked him up, probably would have been an absolute nobody. Instead of what he is today with the Chiefs, an absolute winner, champion, Hall of Famer in the future.
Maybe he doesn't win as many, but he's still, like, some of that stuff is God-given. Like, it's not like, like, you would notice he's different when he's throwing left-hand passes and fucking.
And this is all just like hypotheticals, right? Like we can't, unfortunately, we
it's
do
the
not have
butterfly effect.
exactly. We don't have the greatness of technology where we could be like, let's see how it would have happened, how the NFL would have played out had the Bears drafted Patrick Mahomes. You would have seen him fucking in his third year, just like Justin Fields. Get him out, trade him. We want Caleb Will, something like that. So, look, the Bears are going to trade or are going to draft Caleb Williams. They're going to. They're absolutely going to. Does Justin Fields stay with the Bears? I don't know. We have to wait for the Kirk Cousins drama and the signing to that happen. Yeah.
But if I was your GM, I would wear a shirt that says "Just bear with me," and I would be like, "This is a 2-year plan," and I would move back. I would collect I would collect 3 firsts, and I would get Marvin Harrison Jr. And then
who would you trade the first for, though?
I would get Aaron Rodgers.
Who would you trade that first overall pick to?
Who would I move back for?
No. Who would you trade that first overall pick? Which team would you trade it to? Because Ryan Poles did it, gave it to the Panthers because I'm positive there was some expectation that the Panthers were going to be absolute ass the following season to get a top 3, top 4 pick again.
I would do
that's
it with,
why I think he did it.
I would do it with the Patriots.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I would do it with the Patriots. I don't think they're going to have immediate success.
That's a good one.
I think the Panthers, again, would be a great option if they were willing, but they're way too invested in Bryce Young for 1 year to make them pivot.
Tepper's an idiot, though.
Yeah, but you just never know. You might be like, true. Shit, I like him.
Nick saying the same thing. Send it to the Panthers again.
Yeah. But yeah, that could be. And then you have literally the most weapons that every year for the next 3 years, you're drafting with 2 first-round picks. And then you bring in Aaron Rodgers after next season, just like Brett Favre. Just like Brett Favre finished with the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers finishes as a Bear, winning a Super Bowl.
And truly does own the franchise.
Chicago. It's his own restaurant downtown.
He would get a statue. And it'd be the most awkward statue ever. After 13, 14 years with the Packers, 2 years with the Jets, wins it in 1 year with the Bears.
And you could draft your next quarterback, and Rodgers could mentor him for 2 years.
Yeah.
Just like Jordan Love.
We're going to get a guy named Lord and Jove. And he's gonna just mold him into Hall of Famer too.
Lord and Jove.
But
no, you're going to get a guy named. And by the way, every year Broncos or Bears don't draft a quarterback, all I'm thinking in my head is good. Because guess what? In 5 years from now, or probably 4 years from now, before 2030, Archie Manning is going to be coming into the NFL. And there is going to be hype like we've never seen. I mean, and then next year you got Shedeur Sanders, who's going to be probably a number 1 overall pick. So like, there's always more. It always feels like this is it. But anybody that watches football long enough knows, like, if you miss out this year, next year comes pretty freaking fast, especially the older you get.
And I mean, look at who the couldn't miss quarterbacks were about 20 years ago. You had, oh my God, I'm obviously spacing on their fucking names now. Young from Texas, Vince Young, and the guy from USC that went to Arizona,
Matt Leinart.
Those guys played in the greatest college football game of all time and were picked in the first round. I think in the first 5 picks. Reggie Bush was there. Like these were can't miss guys, and they just flamed out. So you could see the amount of talent, again, to reiterate the fact that the amount of talent since then has just been so much better, and they're developed much better. So you're right. Caleb Williams is a generational talent. At least that's what has been assessed of him. But that does not mean that there won't be generational talents in the next 10 drafts. It's just the way it is.
Coming in. They're always coming in.
But it does always suck to never have one. That's the Bears. It always takes to never have one.
It's time for you guys to just at least find out if you like it. Like
I think so.
it's like
That's what the Bears are doing.
you don't have to become the franchise that always drafts a quarterback, but at least try it, see if you like it, see how it feels.
Mhm.
You might be like, oh, this feels really good to actually have this much hype surrounding the Bears instead of Kyle Orton, who's the epitome of the opposite of a household name. He came
That's
to
true.
Denver. That's what you gave us for
That's
Jake.
true.
Imagine
You're
my
welcome.
punk ass waking up in the morning with my Brandon Marshall jersey on. And
What
Jay
a
Cutler,
steal.
my only 2 Bronco jerseys that I had because they were
What a
my 2
steal.
favorite players. And you wake up and you find out that not only one of them, but both of them are no longer on your team. This is the first time I even knew something like this could happen. I was
Mhm.
just young and naive. And I'm like, what do you mean they're gone? What about my jersey? And it's like, don't worry. Here's Kyle Orton with an oversized jersey on, just standing there
Number 18.
like he's about to fix your iPhone. I'm like, no. We got rid
Dirty
of
ass
Jay
neck
Cutler.
beard.
Just disgusting. I'm like, can we at least get Jake Plummer, the guy that likes psychedelics? He was he's fun to be around. Like, can we?
Oh god, Jake Plummer, what a
Yeah,
name.
dude, you really shafted us on that one.
We shafted him, and I've said it before during the season. I'll say it again. I'm trusting Ryan Poles in what he's done. He has made some awesome moves. He has picked up some great talent through drafts. Has fucking just highway robberied the Carolina Panthers last
And the
season,
Commanders.
and and the Commanders getting him for a second rounder, which probably maybe even a first rounder Montez Sweat is going to be worth for in the future when we look back at this, but. Extending Jalen Johnson and looking forward to more moves that he's going to make. It's going to be awesome. I don't want to keep talking Bears.
You're
But Kyle,
really
you got
riding
anything else?
his Ryan Pohl.
And on that note, what's going on in Buffalo, Kyle? The Bills basically cut the entire fucking team. 5 players.
Oh, that part. No clapping.
No clapping. Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morse, Siran Neal. They got rid of everybody. Jordan Poyer, one of the leaders really in that clubhouse for the Bills. And you get rid of a guy like that who's probably given a lot to that city, to that team. Like, what do you make of all this? Like, the Bills are in a shitty cap situation, obviously, too. And we just talked about Von Miller restructuring his extension from last year or 2 years ago. So, I mean, are the Bills in that bad of a situation where they may not be competitive in the near future?
I don't think so. The way I think about it,
Mm-hmm.
and it might be like ignorance a little bit. I'm like, okay, they cut a lot of people that aren't important. Like, I'm just saying, like, we're not hearing like Josh Allen or any of the Von Millers are
Davis
restructuring.
White too.
But like, what was the biggest name?
Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White. They are the defense. They like hit them two, or like they've been anchoring that defense for a while now.
Well, it just might be one of those things where they feel like they have younger talent that's ready to step up. And this is what happens when you pay your quarterback this much money. I mean, this is part of the deal.
True.
And that's why it's almost silly for every franchise to say, like, I want that. Because if the 49ers had that, they wouldn't have been able to have the talent that they had. They could only have that because Brock Purdy was making $200,000. But when your quarterback, which is what everyone wants, is a franchise quarterback, you can get people in for rookie deals, sometimes negotiate a cheap second contract, but eventually when it's time to really make the money, people like Justin Madubuike, people like that don't get their $100 million. They get kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
So I look at this like business as usual for a team with a franchise quarterback. But is it going to be an adjustment period? Well, from the outside looking in, it looks like the Buffalo Bills aren't going through a rebuild. It looks like their defense is. They don't know who's going to be calling the defense. They fired their or is it going to be Sean McDermott calling the defense? No, he hasn't said yet. He's capable of it.
Yeah.
But he hasn't said it yet, and then he's getting rid of all these players. So I just think they're instead of rebuilding, I feel like they look at it like they're reloading. Because really, anytime you have a franchise quarterback, you're never rebuilding. It's not true. You're always reloading. Like Joe Burrow said, my Super Bowl window is my career. And I would say the same is going to be true for Josh Allen, even though he hasn't won a Super Bowl or been to one. It's not like we don't all still have that same expectation when the Bills are in the playoffs and they're rolling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's like a big change, but I think it's just business as usual for the Bills.
Yeah, and Micah Hyde, the guy right next to Poyer there in the safety position, those two guys, the Bills are very, very likely going to have two new safeties there. Tre'Davious White,
Simmons.
obviously. Justin's that's a good one. I mean, first team All Pro. He doesn't have
be back with Von Miller.
And he doesn't have the injuries, does he? He doesn't really have an injury problem, I guess I would say.
Sometimes he'll get like a hip or something, but like the most he'll miss is like 4. He hasn't had a season ending, and actually he had the record for most consecutive snaps for a safety in the league. Like
wow.
But last year and the year before, he would miss like 2 to 3 games, but nothing crazy.
Gotcha. And so with Micah Hyde, with Poyer, obviously, like you said, the younger talent is gonna step up. Also, do you think you're paying these guys quite a bit of money? Obviously, again, the combination of your cap situation, paying Josh Allen, you got a franchise quarterback. That just has to be the move, for a franchise, is paying your franchise quarterback. You get rid of these guys, you cut them, you release them to get a little bit of leeway there in the cap situation. Do you think any part of this has to do with the way their defense has performed in the playoffs, especially like the last couple seasons? I mean, during the season, they're pretty damn good. It's just, it seems like when they come to the playoffs, right? I mean, the Chiefs are probably their Achilles heel, let's be real. But sometimes when it comes down to crunch time, this defense just, I don't know, it's like a wet paper napkin. It just, anything can go through that bitch.
So I think they were just trying to free up the cap space. I wouldn't say it was like a direct reflection of like disappointment from the personnel people or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the way that it was talked about on CBS, and I guess a lot of the thinking was even the players that they didn't cut deals with, they restructured, like Von Miller and Rasul Douglas. Those were adjusted to save $2.5 million. So it just seems like somebody came in with the intention of like, okay, how much money can we free up? And the Bills are being very intentional about freeing up this cap space. And that's why they were able to save up over $37 million with Wednesday's transactions. They'll gain an additional $10 million in June with the release of White. The Bills are currently just $1 million over the cap. So you have to understand that even after doing all of this, they still have more money that they have to get rid of.
So they still got some breathing room. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it was like a punishment, more, hey, this is a really shitty situation that we're in, and this is the business part of it. But you're the most expendable people. We've gone through all the players, and the cheap ones don't add up to enough money to justify getting rid of. And the most expensive ones, like Josh Allen, we can't even entertain. And then you get to that weird tier 2 where you make enough money for us to feel the savings. And that's normally because they're a pretty good player and they had a decent sized contract, but you're not untouchable.
Yeah. And another kind of angle this too is they're probably going to, with the Von Miller thing, they're probably going to restructure Josh Allen's, contract as well to save more money. And per the Athletic, their
Tough.
2025-2026 cap health is really well. So, like you said, this may not necessarily be like a punishment for the defense, but it is really kind of long-term looking at it. Like the next 2-3 seasons, I mean, this season they're going to be just with enough breathing room, but the following 2 seasons they will be well enough to possibly make some splashes in free agency, re-sign some guys if they need to, possibly some younger guys kind of step up there in the defense. But even with all that said, Nick saying here that the Bills have Josh Allen, they'll be fine, but the divisional round exits will continue. We predicted them to get past the Chiefs and they still could not do it. So, they went into overtime again, right? And that happened, but is there any part of you, like we said, the last offseason, that the Bills window is getting a little tinier, a little smaller?
Nah. I think as long as Josh Allen is Josh Allen, like we saw him run it for a 55-yard touchdown run in was that the wild card round, I think.
Yeah.
Just anytime he's playing like that, he really can just take over any game. And it's like, that doesn't exist everywhere. You only have you could count on one hand the guys that can do that. Even the more veteran quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers can't quite do it the way Josh Allen can. Josh Allen can, on a 4th and 3, just will his way to a first down. These other quarterbacks have to rely on throwing and IQ. Josh Allen is a total hybrid and one of the hardest quarterbacks, if not the hardest quarterback to play in the league. So yeah, like I think with the changes going on, look at what Buffalo was able to accomplish last year in spite of not having a coach, in spite of having to kind of gain an identity in the middle of the season because they didn't start off great. I thought what they did last year, to me, just proved that this could be a team when they get their ducks in a row and their coaches aren't fired mid-season and their players are responding well to the coaching, that could only get better from here. Now, how long does that window last with the way Josh Allen plays football is another conversation, but it could probably, at least where I'm at right now, be at a minimum 5 more years, I think.
Ooh, okay. So 5 more years of like Josh Allen playing to the level that he's playing. And man, because 5 years is still a really long time. When you look at, I guess, the landscape that most teams are in too, it just sucks because you're in the same conference as Patrick Mahomes. You're in the same conference as, teams that are going to be getting, possibly new quarterbacks that are going to make a difference on their teams. So, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes right now are like the top 2 in the AFC, I would say. You got Trevor Lawrence there in Jacksonville. You've got, a couple other guys kind of coming up. CJ Stroud, obviously, after his rookie season. So,
oh yeah,
it just maybe, the defense does need to be on the younger side, less injuries, less money. I just, the Bills just aren't cap hell, and they have been. So it just does suck for them and the city of Buffalo, the fans, for this to happen.
I think, so you have your contenders sitting pretty, you have your contenders with questions, and then you have rebuilders with resources. That's where like the Bears are right now. And then you have your just uphill climbers, right? These are the people that are in a lot of trouble. This is where you'll find the Jets. This is where you'll find the Raiders and
Commanders.
Even surprisingly, teams like the Seahawks and the Chargers and the Colts and the
Yeah.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
It's not, and then you just have your purgatory, right? This is where the Broncos, Browns, Panthers, and Saints are. It is the worst place that you could possibly end up at. But
Panthers,
but for your contenders sitting pretty, Bengals, Lions, Rams, Texans. Those are those teams right now. And then your contenders with questions is the Buffalo Bills. Like, that's their tier right now. And the Chiefs are there too, even though they won. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, these are teams that could contend for a Super Bowl next year, but there's some part of their team that leaves you in question. And I don't know if the Bills will ever get to that next big stage. I don't know if they'll ever move their way up to a full-on contender, but I think as soon as Josh Allen wins or even goes to a Super Bowl, they'll likely jump up into a top tier. We got Ginger in the chat. What's up, Ginger? Sex machines. Hell yeah. What did we talk about? We talked about Justin Simmons, no longer a Denver Bronco. That was kind of the terrible news of yesterday. And then we talked about Justin Madubuike getting his $100 million contract. And then we moved into talking about what we're talking about now.
What we're talking about now, the Bills just don't seem to have money for their players, but they got money for a 16-foot actual Bill statue.
Yes,
So just to end on a little lighter note for the Bills, they're going to build a 16-foot statue of an actual Bill, which is ridiculous. Did you see pictures of this thing yet?
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive.
So
I was going to show you really quick.
Yeah.
So when you fly into Denver International Airport, have you flown in, Rick?
Denver International? No, but I heard it's haunted.
Kind of, not really.
Yeah.
Well, when you're leaving the airport, you can see it better when you're driving back to the airport, but there's a statue of a blue horse. It's huge. It's massive. And it's got red, like demon red eyes, and they glow in the dark.
Yeah.
And the guy that sculpted it, the statue landed on and killed him. And that's why they say that it's like,
that's why.
So here's a picture of it.
All right, hold on.
There you go. So that's a picture of it. So it becomes it's a staple that everybody's interested in when they're coming to visit Denver. So before you were talking about the Bills thing, I was just thinking, I think that Buffalo is going to become what that horse is to Denver.
You think
a staple of the city, a must-see destination.
Park there. Yeah. I wonder if it'll be, because the Bills don't need any more bad luck. They've already had their bad luck 4 Super Bowls in a row. They don't win one.
This is gonna be good luck.
Bison. Thanks, Bill.
This is gonna be good luck.
They're actually building just a statue of Bill in front of Orchard Park. It's just gonna be Bill, like, go Giants, and that's all it's gonna be. 16-foot statue of Bill.
2 thumbs up.
So yes, they don't have money for their players, but the Bills are going to be building a 16-foot tall bison in front of their stadium, which will be I think, like you said, it might be one of those things where, like you said, it might be the place to go to when you go to a Bills game. But let's move on to another little bit. Justin Madubuike. And then Bill said Buffalo's already sacrificing people to the pit. That's true. They were. But let's move on. Kyle, the compensatory picks are in, and we're going to talk about who got a lot and who didn't get
got
any.
A little.
Yeah, very little. So
I feel like we haven't gotten one of these in like 20 years. I only hear about them from the 49ers.
Yeah, that was a big story last season that the 49ers were, or our owners were talking about it. And it's like, you guys approved this. This is exactly what you approved. And this is exactly how it's happening. But there were a lot of compensatory picks being pretty much doled out there for any team. So
how do they decide who gets the 3rd round compensatory pick? You got like the Jags, Eagles, and Rams all getting a 3rd round pick. And the 49ers. And then you have your teams that are getting 7th round picks, but we know these picks are not valued the same. Like a top 100 selection is insane.
Yeah. So let's see. Under the rules for compensatory draft selections, a team losing more or better compensatory free agents than it acquires in the previous year is eligible to receive compensatory draft picks.
So if you have
Um,
less picks this year than you had last year, you're eligible?
I think it's compensatory specifically. So it says compensatory free agents are determined by a formula based on salary, playing time, and post-season honors. Not every free agent lost or signed by a club is covered by this formula. Clubs that suffer a net loss of CFAs during the prior free agent signing period are eligible to receive a corresponding number of compensatory selections. So it looks like,
Bullshit.
yeah, depending on that formula, which was created by the what did it say? Created
Right.
by the NFL Management Council, depending on how many of those guys received honors, salary, performance, and they leave your team, that is when you receive a compensatory pick in whatever round it is that they pick for. So I don't get how they
Well,
make a lot either.
it sounds like the way that it's written is it basically boils down to we decide. I mean, that's the way it reads. Like, this is
Yeah,
not a formula that can be applied to every. Okay, but you're not also explaining what makes each team unique. So,
yeah,
what is it based off of? Oh, the writer or the creator of it. So it's a fake.
yeah.
It's a fugazi.
It's a fugazi.
And the Broncos are never on the side of the fugazi. But you know who is? The Jacksonville Jaguars, the Eagles, the Rams, the 49ers, the
Yeah,
Ravens, the Packers, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, oh, the Bengals, oh, just the teams that don't fucking need it.
yeah, yeah.
Broncos, Bears, Panthers, all the teams that you would suspect need a little boost. No, not any of them got a
Absolutely
pick.
not. Absolutely
So
not.
why?
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 Because of that formula.
Why? I just got
Why?
Southern Baptist preacher. Why?
And I look, the whole formula again based on salary, playing time, and postseason honors. I just, it becomes one of those things where, are you trying to do your best to sign free agents and have them have a successful year and then not planning on re-signing them? Because then you get compensatory picks in your third rounds. Again, where you can get a guy in your third, even fourth round, like I said earlier, where those picks are starting to become even more valuable.
So if
That
you
will
treat
be,
your free agents good, you get a pick.
so it depends on how good he is, what his salary was, and then if he leaves your team that following off season and you don't re-sign him, then you become eligible. At least from what I'm understanding from the
Oh,
Athletic
because you're getting
article,
rid of talent. Well,
in a
Russell Wilson's
sense,
not
yeah.
worth one. Fuck. They rated him one of the top free agents the day he was available.
Oh god, I think they were like, Walmart's got money, they're good. But let's
We're
go through
not.
some of those.
We're not good.
Let's go through some of those compensatory picks Kyle was talking about. So in round 3, the Jaguars, the Eagles, the Rams, and the 49ers. Yeah, I know you said none of these teams really need it, but I feel like the Jaguars and the Eagles, maybe on the offensive side of the ball, could really, use this to their advantage, because we saw, last season with the Jaguars, for example, Calvin really didn't really pan out. Trevor Lawrence did get injured, but even when he wasn't injured, it's not like he was putting on the most amazing quarterback show of all time. There were some games where he was, balling out. He looked really good, and he led the Jaguars to wins. But for them and for Jaguars fans, I think across the nation, really mostly in Jacksonville, they're looking at this like, we need offensive talent. We need somebody else on the offense. Evan Ingram, maybe not the guy to do it. Another wide receiver, now that they got rid. Now they're probably getting rid of Calvin Ridley, or he's a free agent now. What do you think about the Jaguars? I mean, this is a very valuable third round here.
Yeah, and it's a great question, and I'm not trying to get too hung up on this other phase, but I just have one last question. If the teams that are really good have to get rid of their players because they can't afford to pay all of them, isn't that like the NFL's way of like balancing back out, like the Rams when they bought that Super Bowl, but then they weren't good the next year because they couldn't keep all those superstars. Like, if you're giving them replacements for their players, it almost seems that you're like keeping the rich and you're keeping the poor. Like, this would naturally be the time where teams would not get to benefit from these players. But now you're like, here's a 3rd round pick, Jacksonville, draft your replacement for Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
It's like, you had Calvin Ridley for a year. Like, that's the reward and the risk, however that pans out is however it pans out. Like, you shouldn't be awarded if it does or it doesn't. So I just still don't understand that part. Like, this all these teams are supposed to like come down back to earth and have to build back up, like all of us peasants that don't get these picks.
The peasants that we are.
And they're like, no. We can't afford for the Chiefs and the Eagles. The market's booming right now. Here's your replacement picks.
Yeah.
And then over in the corner, we're like, bye, Russ. Where's our replacement pick? Oh, you don't get one. The Jaguars are definitely going to draft a wide receiver coming up in the draft. But I honestly, when I think about Jacksonville, like I don't think of a lack of weapons. Like, the Jaguars are plenty good to be doing well during the regular season and the playoffs last year. I don't know what really happened, but if it happens again, like, I don't know if Doug Peterson's going to be around, because the belief is not that Trevor Lawrence isn't the guy. It's the opposite. So they're going to have to figure out how to have a better year. And I expect them to. I think they'll win probably around 12 to 13 games next season. I think they'll be back.
Yeah, and another factor of this compensatory pick is something that we had actually talked about, and which was one of the things that the owners were actually just kind of throwing a fit about, was the special compensatory selections are awarded to a team as a result of having a minority employee hired away by another club as a head coach or general manager, which the 49ers and Rams have been the only teams to receive those special picks this year. So when you think of Salah, you think of Mike McDaniels, you think of D'Amico Ryans, the 49ers in that sense are getting those picks for that. So it's not necessarily always the free agents. It is, hey, you guys are developing your talent not only on the field but on the sidelines and in the training facilities, right? So that is another factor. And what I'm about to say next is going to possibly infuriate Kyle. Since 1994, when the picks were first given, Kyle, guess which team has had the most picks awarded with 56 since 1994?
The Kansas City Chiefs.
No, but I think that one would piss you off too.
The 49ers?
The Baltimore Ravens have had 56 picks compensatory wise since 1994. That is 30 years.
How many did the 49ers have?
I don't know. It is saying that they have the most, the Baltimore Ravens, with 56 since 94. It doesn't say like second, third, or fourth.
Yeah, I would imagine the 49ers have a lot too.
Oh,
they always have like 3 or 4, it seems like.
Dude, the 49ers have one in round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, 2 in round 6.
Yeah, that's what I just saw.
Yeah, 2 in round 6, no round 7, but the Rams also
211, 215.
Yeah, so
4.
4?
So they have 4 total, right? 2 in round 6 and 2. So they have 1 in round 3, and then they have an early 4th. They have the first 4th round that they're offering. So
5.
I mean,
Total.
they have 2 picks, 1 in the top 100, and those 2 picks are only 33 picks apart.
Dude, they can.
I mean,
the 49ers are reloading it also.
Geez. And it's like the 49ers don't need to reload. They're already loaded. Like,
hey, you gotta make sure you're not in cap hell like the Bills or the Broncos right now.
The Chiefs have one. Why did the Chiefs because of
Because fuck you, that's why.
DJ Jones, probably, or Chris Jones. I
No,
mean,
Chris Jones is still on the team. I think
he won't
technically they
be.
may have even franchise tagged him.
No, they
I think they
didn't. He's
will.
gone. No, he won't be back. They already brought him in to restructure, and then he posted on Twitter like it's been real, KC, or something like that. Like he's out.
No way, really?
Yeah, I mean, look at his tweet. This is how you get NFL news now. You gotta be up with the
Let's
Twitter.
see. Chris Jones talks with Chiefs free agency, talks with Chris Jones, positive and productive. The absolute opposite.
Look at his profile.
On Kyle just wants this to happen so bad.
No, I swear. But look at his profile. Okay, I'll send it to you.
Okay, send it to me because
I hope
not
I'm not making
words.
this up.
And then he says, Chris Jones has cryptic response to Raiders rumors. Let me see. Where does it say? I'm just oh wait, where's his tweet? Game Day Gourmet. He agreed. It just the two hands shaking. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know who that is.
Let me come
Garofalo?
in. It was KC ... I love you.
When was that though?
Hold on. That was February 13th.
February 3rd.
So
that
I
was
guess right before
the Super Bowl.
it didn't get tagged. Yeah,
that was the Super Bowl.
Oh, so do you think
that
that
the Super Bowl?
The post I saw was from like a fan base, and it was like, "What do you think this means?" And it was like, "It means Kansas City."
Okay.
No, but it wasn't like it was like
Oh.
it was obvious what it was. I'll find it. I should have
Okay.
reposted
Kyle's
it.
Kyle dreamed this tweet.
No. A lot of the insiders that are following it, like Rich Eisen, Tom Pelissero, and Ian Rappaport, they've all said that it's likely that they're not going to be able to come to an agreement because he wants to make more money, and the Chiefs are going to want him to take a financial, like, help the team friendly deal, and it's unlikely to happen. If you even look up, I mean, he didn't get tagged, and if you look up like anything about it from any agent, they're all saying the same thing.
Because I think they tagged L'Jarius Sneed, right?
Did they?
That's who they tagged? I gotta look it up now because I'm pretty sure we talked about it. L'Jarius Sneed. Let's see what comes up on the interwebs here, on the Googles, if you will. Trade report, quarterback should fetch first round. No, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Did they even tag anybody? Because I thought it was Chris Jones that they were going to tag.
Yeah, but they didn't end up doing it. And then, oh yeah, this is what his post was, his cryptic post. It was on the Pat McAfee show. That's where I saw it. This was 10 hours ago, and it's just KC ... And it's like a picture of Andy Reid like celebrating the Super Bowl with him. But the overall tone of the tweet is sad. It's like it's like a farewell undertone.
Oh, I mean, I think what they did was, did they put the unrestricted, what was that called? What franchise tag is that called, where you can have teams still make offers?
Yeah. But, you know, this is also something that happened last year. We got to keep that in mind. Remember, this happened with Aaron Rodgers, and then we were like, oh, there's no way he's coming back. And then he came back again. So, like, maybe something similar could be happening where he's just a dramatic person. And, like, when it's going through this stage, like, some people are just a little more dramatic, or they wear their emotions on their sleeves. And
they did tag L'Jarius Sneed. So like you said, he is up for free agency in 3 days. But they, like, if you're the Chiefs, you got to work on that, right?
Right.
You have to.
I don't think they can, though. I just don't think they have the money. And I put the link to that episode in here too for you guys as well. to watch
But
it
don't
and
leave
tell
yet.
us what you think. Yeah, but don't leave yet. Just save
I'm
it.
back to you later.
But yeah, look,
Um,
he's
yeah.
potentially going to be like big money coming, and whatever team that he ends up going to is going to massively improve. Just like Justin Simmons, but almost on a whole nother level. I mean, Chris
Yeah.
Jones is the best in the league.
Yeah, and I mean the Chiefs, like we're talking about the picks, they have a 5th rounder. I mean, I don't 5th rounders maybe nowhere near as valuable as your 3rd rounders, but I mean if they have to, I mean they've
They
got their
have to,
2nd or 3rd round picks or so. They
but
have to pick somebody there that tackle, probably a defensive tackle if they can.
yeah, and that last Super Bowl, like that was Chris Jones' Super Bowl. Like how
Mhm.
Mahomes won the first 2. This year was like the Chiefs defense was what brought them to the Super Bowl, and then the Chiefs
Yes,
defense is what won it. And
100%.
Chris Jones is that defense. So it's like, do you really get rid of a guy that just became like one of your championship rings? Like he will
Mhm.
live forever in Kansas City the way Von Miller does in Denver. Um, those guys you want to keep because like even Von Miller, after that Super Bowl, we signed him to a 7-year deal. Like we're not even a year from that Super Bowl, and we're talking about him not being on the team. It's crazy.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, you're right. And he was oh god, he was like a late round pick, or was he a 1st round pick for the Chiefs?
I got to imagine first round talent, but
Yeah,
I
because of
can't
how good
remember.
he is. I can't remember either how good he was because I remember reading about him being like, "Oh shit." I
He
was
was
either
selected with the
surprised
second round, 37th overall.
2nd round, but it was the 37th overall that was like, "Oh wow." Like that may as well still be like a 1st round type of pick, right? Because of how well he has performed.
Well, not
Uh
really, because isn't the compensatory pick a third round pick for the Chiefs?
it's a 3rd round, yeah.
So I guess they're
Oh,
saying,
no.
hey,
The Chiefs are 5th round. Sorry. Chiefs are 5th
oh,
round.
see, I would think like it would be, I guess compensatory is not an actual equal exchange where they're going to be like, okay, Chris Jones was a 2nd, so our compensatory pick will be a 2nd. They're like, okay, we're not going to give you a 2nd, we'll give you like a 5th. And if
Mhm.
you went in the 1st round, we'll give you a 3rd. So you're never getting equal value. You're always getting below value with the compensatory pick.
But I also believe the reason that so I don't, while I agree with that, like you're not going to always just keep getting 3rd rounders. Wasn't Chris Jones tagged last offseason? So he was still
Yeah.
technically not
Well,
necessarily a
he
free
wasn't
agent.
tagged. Well, no. I think he was tagged, but then he wouldn't play under the tag. And then they couldn't get a deal worked out, and he sat out week 1 against the Lions, um and then the Lions won that game, and then they got the deal worked out, and then the Chiefs won week 2. But
Oh, okay. Chris Jones.
whole
Okay. Well,
weird thing where he sat out week 1 and was like, I want to be on the field, but I got to protect the business side of this, and then they worked out a 1-year deal. But
oh yeah. So like you said, to his 51-day holdout, they restructured, changes were made to his 2023 contract year, and then he came for the 2nd game. Like you said, he came into the 2nd game that year. Okay. Yeah. All right. Love it. Love it. Love it. So we'll see. I mean, those compensatory picks, man, they can absolutely turn into some great talent there for these teams. And unfortunately, you could do, like Kyle said, you do have a lot of teams that are like in the 3rd and 4th round. For example, the Bills, the 49ers, the Rams, the Ravens have a 4th rounder. Like you're kind of looking at this and you're like, what the fuck? But shifting focus, still staying with the Chiefs. Kyle, Chiefs fans need some amputations.
oh
Apparently,
my god.
this
Oh my god.
was ridiculous. There are doctors recommending Chiefs fans who have frostbitten arms or legs or toes or some shit
Yeah.
to get amputations from the game in Buffalo,
No.
right?
It was the Dolphins. The
The
Dolphins.
Dolphins
It was
game,
the
Braxton. Yeah.
divisional one. So
Yes.
there were, I guess, fans that were at that game, and they got so cold that they got frostbite, which is not not typical, and frostbite. A lot of what happens when you get frostbite, you have to get amputated. In a lot of cases where it's more severe, if you catch the early signs like the itching, you can maybe get
Mhm.
out of there. But a game is 3.5 hours long, so some players, I guess, weren't able to reverse the damage to the point where they wouldn't have to be amputated. So we had people getting amputated. The local
Mhm.
hospital confirmed it, and that
It's
was the big
ridiculous.
news today. They confirmed it. We were like, dude, we were all just watching a football game and people were freaking like losing legs out there. Like that's we might have
It's
to have, but then you see people like with no shirt on,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, okay, did he get frostbite? Because I'm just saying, like, okay, you know what I'm saying.
There was
Or
shirts
did
off,
people
there
bunch
was
up?
nipples amputated. Nipples have been
No, they weren't.
amputated possibly.
Oh, okay. I thought I thought you saw a picture. I was like, "No way." Oh, yeah, dude, that
I saw an amputated nipple.
you guys need it. If I see it, you guys have to see it. That's you ever met one of those people, they normally are like, "Dude, check out this video with these 2 girls in this cup." And you're like, "What?" We all have that
I
one friend.
always Kyle was Kyle was that one friend. I
No,
hated
I
the ones where
wasn't.
they're
It was
like,
my
check out this
dad.
ISIS video, and I'm like, no, no.
Right.
Right.
Wait, so you don't like looking at, like, that stuff either? Like, all that yeah, I used to
No,
have a
dude. Well,
buddy that was,
there's
like, into it for real, like, he had websites that he would go to that, like, showed, like, any just
yeah,
graphic shit. I couldn't stomach it, but, like, it was like a
I
hobby
couldn't either.
almost. It's weird,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's weird. It's like there was a who was it? Was it Shane Gillis where it's like, no, I don't watch videos of death. Just like when my buddy, I mean, only when my buddies are around, like I might watch one. And then he's like, we watch the videos for like 4 hours, yeah. And I'm just like, how the fuck do you do that, dude? That's fucking sick. But
Yeah.
regardless, this is like this amputation shit, it's crazy because we got to remember that game against the Dolphins was -4 degrees, and the
Mhm.
wind chill was pretty crazy too. Um, I can't remember what the wind chill. Oh, -27 degrees with the wind chill. That's almost -30 degrees in Kansas City, and guys, people were taking their clothes off, like Kyle said, their shirts. They were going crazy, and obviously, you have some beer in you, it makes you a little warm. You don't feel the cold, but to be
Adrenaline too.
told, what's that?
Just the adrenaline from playoff football too. Like, it's
Just the
different.
adrenaline. But to be
Like,
told weeks later that you have to amputate something, it's like one simple decision like that is crazy.
no, I know it's not just the beer because when, I went to that game that was even colder, I didn't have to get anything amputated, and I was, like, 12 years old in that game, maybe younger, and it was literally colder. There was only
Mhm.
one game colder, I think, ever, and it was the Ice Bowl, which happened in Lambeau. But I remember
Wow.
I was so pumped up to be at my first NFL football game that I, like, took my jacket off. I still had a sweater on, but I remember my mom was like, "No, like, put your fucking jacket back on," pretty much.
Mhm.
And, now as an adult, I realize, like, that must have just been pure adrenaline,
Oh,
because I
yeah.
really didn't feel like I felt like because the players are tough because they, are wearing no sleeves out there, and you look up to these players and you want to be tough, and
Mhm.
you're all jacked up, for the game, and yeah, you
Jacked up.
end up getting amputated sometimes. Like, just get out of your own way. Like, you're not a hard ass if you
Oh,
wear a
god.
jacket. No one's gonna think you're not a hard ass if you wear a jacket. Just put the
Just
jacket on, bro.
every once in a while, the arm's gotta get amputated, no big deal. Look, it's not a laughing matter, guys. It's not a laughing matter, but it's we gotta joke about it because, I mean, this is just insane. This is insane too.
It's
For
so
that
weird.
one Yeah, for that one simple decision to be like, "I'm taking my shirt off, I'm going in shorts, I'm going in a tank top." Weeks later, you're like, "What? I'm losing a finger, I'm losing a toe, I'm losing that." Like, it's just it's craziness, but like Kyle said, sometimes the adrenaline just kinda gets to you because my brother went to a Bears game in December, and in Chicago, it gets fucking cold. It gets really fucking cold. And maybe I've told this story on here before. I can't really remember, but he was sitting in, the very top section, or where it gets even colder. You get the wind really throughout the entire stadium there. With Chicago, the wind chill made it even worse. He used to tell me that when he would go to get like a hot chocolate, a steaming hot beverage, he would go get a hot chocolate. By the time he got to his seat, it was frozen. So you could just imagine minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit in Kansas City with these guys in their shirts off. I get the adrenaline and stuff, but for a hot beverage to go from point A to point B, which is probably, let's say, 50 yards, and to freeze in that time, it's bonkers, man.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things that even if you can imagine it, like, you can't. Like, it's like trying
Gotta
to
experience it.
imagine like what it feels like to like burn. Like, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you've burnt, and then
Yeah.
Like, that's how cold it is. Like, no matter like how cold you think that it will be, when you're in it, it's colder and it hurts. And Florida is the same way for people. They're like, I could do heat, and then they move to Miami and they literally are just soaking wet all the time. And you're like going for a jog. Like, I would run to work 7 miles and people would be like, how can you run in this? And I'm like, I prefer it. Like, I prefer it over running in cold. I always have.
There was one time in Jacksonville, and if you guys haven't been to Florida for a very long period of time, especially during the summer, it's not necessarily the heat that gets you. It is the humidity, that old time saying, it's the humidity that gets you. So there was one time during the summer, it was my birthday. My birthday's in June. So I'm a summer kid, right? Like, that is who I am. I am out on the grill grilling and my shorts are soaked and dripping sweat. That's how hot it is outside. And I'm in the middle of, like, the sun's hitting. There's no trees. There's no shades. I'm grilling with this hot, the hot food. Just, I'm over that. I got the heat over the top of me. I am just sweating head to toe, dude. And I am,
If you
my
haven't
shorts are just
grilled in
dripping
it,
sweat.
yeah, grilling it, it's
Oh,
a whole
God.
different thing because you're getting the heat,
It's
and then you can't
fucking
tell if it's
terrible.
the outside or if it's the grill. You're like, where's that heat coming from? Is it the grill or is it out here? Dude, in Miami is also like Jacksonville humidity is like nothing compared to like once you get further south, like Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Miami, Cuba, that fucking humidity is like it's different. Like, Jacksonville is almost like drier compared.
Really?
Yeah, you can feel the difference for sure. Like, when I land back home, like, I can feel when I'm going through the bridge from the plane, the jettison bridge, I can literally feel the humidity. I literally am inside of this thing. That's how, like, wet it is. Like, as soon as you go outside to get your Uber, you're gonna be like, because I'm taking you to Miami, and we're gonna go to the most dope bars. You're gonna fucking love it.
I love it. Let's go.
But literally, as soon as we get outside, you're gonna be like, oh, wow. It's wet. It's wet. I'm getting wet right now.
And I
It's like
thought,
you're walking into wetness.
and I thought Pensacola, when we were in Pensacola, I would breathe in the air, and I'm talking about like 6 a.m, where it is probably a colder time generally anywhere else. I would be outside in Pensacola breathing in water. I'd be breathing in water
Just
at
like
6 a.m. with the humidity the way it was. It was insane. It was insanity. I've never felt that before. And Kyle and I have both been to Sicily. And when we tell you that the heat, like, it could still be 90 degrees outside in both places at the same time, but there is the Sicily dry heat and there's the Florida humidity heat, and they are completely different animals, and they're both terrible.
Yeah, I remember days in Sicily where it was literally like 104, 105 degrees, and just walking to the corner gas station to like grab something. It was like
Mhm.
brutal. It was like beating
Yeah.
down at you like
Yeah.
violently hot.
Mhm.
Violent is the best word to describe it.
Violently hot.
Like high humid doesn't feel violent. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But that type of
There's-
heat does feel very violent. Like
There's something about that dry heat in Sicily that just
it's like
literally
anger.
it's like
Like-
the devil's asshole itself.
Yeah. Dude, couldn't have said it any better.
But Kyle and Bill had a tough time in Miami as well, going to Puerto Rico, but it was bad. But Kyle,
Getting at
you got a
he
little
felt it too.
you got a
Getting
little bit of the
the chives.
little chives. What you got?
All right. So my
What you got for
chives.
us, Kyle?
That's hilarious. I love that Bill said he could feel it literally just walking out to the airport. Because I was telling you, like, you're gonna feel it in the airport. Like, it's not gonna be like we're gonna have to go do any event, or like you're gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the few times I've ever felt like that from the weather. Okay, so here we go. My chives for today,
Oh,
of course, are about Russell Wilson visiting the Steelers ahead of
yes.
free agency. Russell Wilson free agency tour officially is underway, and Wilson was spotted this morning at the Newark Liberty International Airport. That's in New Jersey. So, Giants. And then he had to catch a flight to Pittsburgh to visit the Steelers, and he posted on Jilly Jets. She posted, "Thank you for flying with us today, Danger Russ Wilson." That's his Twitter tag. So he's being open about it, not hiding anything. Not hiding his whereabouts, being really, here I am, here's where I'm going, and embracing this new season. So Wilson won't officially be released by the Denver Broncos until the new league year opens up on Wednesday, but the club has permitted him to visit these other teams. So after 10 years in Seattle, the 9-time Pro Bowler was traded to Denver in 2022. His first season went horrifically, and while he improved year 2, including 26 touchdown passes to 8 interceptions, Sean Payton and them decided to move on. And I think the most important thing of this whole article is that whatever Russ does next, his legacy is depending on it. And his legacy was pretty cemented when he got to Denver. And because of the worst thing that we could have imagined happened, he's in this situation. Now he does have a new haircut. I don't know if that's going to help, but we're going to find out.
He's going to be more dangerously aerodynamic with his new haircut.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe the new haircut and the revenge tour. I'm hearing he might be a Raider.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be having to look out for that. Somebody said that in the Denver Broncos group, and they were like, "That just means that we'll have 2 wins, at least."
That's what the Detroit Lions used to be to the Bears, but now that's changed. So we'll see.
I'm like, bro, stop talking like that, because if Russ goes to the Raiders, he's gonna be good all of a sudden. You just know that's how life is, man. Like. Sometimes you just always lose. Like, could you imagine we're paying the Raiders quarterback to beat us? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that would be rough, dude. That would be the rough. Like, we paid him over the next 2 years to go 4-0 against us. Like, how bad would that be?
That is like some next level trolling.
Oh, God. All right. Well, that was the episode today. Another exciting week in the NFL. And I mean, there's still more to come, guys. So you can catch it all right here on the Only Football Podcast. If you want to follow our other YouTube pages, you can follow me at Yo, I'm Rick. And Kyle, where can they follow you at?
You can follow me at Kyle Kitzman, which is actually right here at the bottom. Never noticed.
And of course, go follow us on X at The Only Football Pod and now Rick. Kyle, what about you?
You can follow me at NFL with Kyle.
So simple, so elegant, so lovely. NFL with Kyle. Go make sure to follow us on Twitch, on X, here on YouTube. If you're watching, make sure before you leave to throw a like on this video, a retweet, a heart, a share, a subscribe, everything that says down there on the ticker. We're doing ASMR now with Kyle. Those are only going to be on Friday nights when people are feeling a little lonely. So make sure to tune in for that. As far as everybody who tuned in, Bill, Jinja, Nick, Lil E, and everyone else who tuned in on X, on Twitch, on YouTube, thank you guys so much for being with us here. We're going to continue to bring you everything that happens around the NFL and just all the excitement that goes along with it. Kyle, before we get out of here, you got anything else?
Nope. Can't wait for next week. Figure out what's going on with all these players, where Russell Wilson goes. A lot is coming in the next 2 weeks, so I just can't wait for next week to get right into it.
The new NFL season starts the 13th next week, everybody. So let's be prepared for a brand new NFL season. And Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.
Sir!